Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om.
Hey everyone, so happy you can join us for the Love Everyone podcast
with your hosts Govind Das and Rama Chandra Das.
A conversation of love, devotion, and walking the path of Bhakti Yoga.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 7 of the Love Everyone podcast. We're happy to be here. I'm your host, Rama Chandra Das.
Jai Hanuman, everybody. Welcome. My name's Govind Das. So grateful to be here together. Episode 7. And we're back again. We're in it. Let's do it.
Oh, wow. So, hey, I know that folks might just be curious to hear about where are you, Govind Das?
Oh, right now I'm in this beautiful town called Ericeira, Portugal. And Ericeira is just north of Lisbon on the coast, on the Atlantic coast, and it's like the main surf town in Portugal. Now, many people have heard of Nazaré, the 100-foot wave. There was a amazing movie about that, series about that, and it's become so popular in the last 15 years. Biggest wave in the world, really, the biggest rideable wave in the world. And this town is about, I would say, somewhere about 50 miles south of there. And just beautiful beaches. It's summertime. Everybody's on the beach. The water is so gorgeous. And we've had some great kirtans here the last few nights. And there's a great yoga community, kirtan community. And I don't know about you, but in the last, really since COVID, I've heard so many people say, I'm moving to Portugal. And I understand why. It's special
Wow.
country. Like there's just so much space and land, and it's just kind of wild and free. Now you think about Portugal, it's very similar to California because it's the west coast of Europe. Actually, the furthest western point of Europe is just about 20 miles away from us here, but it has a very similar climate as California. And the beaches are beautiful, the waves are great, the people are so kind, and there's such a very small population here. It's not overcrowded like California. And the food is like, the markets are just filled with like the freshest fruits and vegetables, and it's super inexpensive. The euro goes a long way here. So I understand why a lot of people are moving to Portugal. It's a beautiful place.
Well, let me ask you one question, Govinda.
Yeah.
Are you going to go up and ride that 100-foot wave?
Hell no. I like small waves, man. I'm a small 2-3 foot and I'm fine. I don't need 100-foot wave. But we're not really seeing it because those 100-foot waves are in the winter time.
No, you would though if
I would go watch and still probably be scared out of my pants.
Oh my
Just
God.
watching.
I get scared just watching those videos.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are they doing?
That's what pops up on my Instagram all the time. These massive
What
waves.
are they doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
How about you? How's everything? I know you've had a lot of travels.
Oh yeah, everything's been great. We had a really nice time last week at the Shivananda ashram down in the Bahamas. And it's really funny. It was kind of a really funny situation because I've been to the Bahamas 3 times, and every single time I've gone back to the exact same place, which is Paradise Island. But the first 2 times was back when I was in the movie biz, and it was the first time I went to film a movie in the Bahamas, and we filmed at Atlantis, which is right next door to the Shivananda ashram. And Atlantis is it's like Vegas in the Bahamas. It's like,
I
if you've
remember.
seen pictures of it, it's just the most outlandish thing you've ever seen. It's like a cruise ship parked on the land. There's 10,000 rooms or something. There's a big casino. There's like 10 pools and a water park. And, it's the absolute opposite of the Shivananda ashram. I mean, it's
Did you
like,
sneak out of the ashram and go do some gambling?
yeah, I went and had a steak and lobster. And, no, I had no desire. But anyway, so I spent a month living there, back in the day. By the time, even then, I was living a very different lifestyle. And, first few days were pretty fun, but then it just got really, really. So then a few years later, I was still doing films, and one of my films that I directed was accepted into the Bahamas Film Festival. So my producer called me and said, "I'm flying you back to down to the Bahamas to go to this film festival." I was like, "Great! I'm finally gonna get to go and like see the real Bahamas, because I was trapped in the Atlantis." And I said, "So where's the festival?" He says, "It's at Atlantis." So I swear to God, this hotel is 1,000 acres long. I mean, it's the biggest hotel you've ever seen. I was staying in the same hallway that I stayed in. I didn't even get a different room. My room was virtually identical anyway, so I didn't get to see the real Bahamas then either. And so then when we got invited to come down to the Shivananda ashram, I was so happy. It's
They
right
used,
next
I was going to say,
it's
it's
right
right
next
next
door.
to the Atlanta.
It's right next to Atlantis, but it's a totally different scene. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy because, and I kept thinking about the contrast of this because the the ashram is like, I mean, there's literally like swamis in orange robes, fully renunciate swamis doing their thing. There's a priest, like an Indian priest. He's doing pujas all day long.
Mm.
It's nothing but vegetarian food, you know, delicious food, by the way, but. Um, and there's yoga and satsang going on all day long, and then right next door, like just a couple hundred yards away, is like the hedonism, like gone completely out of the. So a friend of mine, he stayed down there before. We were just reflecting on the phone the other day, and I was telling him about it, and he said, yeah, he was out doing yoga on the deck that's on the bay, like literally across two from where they park the cruise ships. There's like five of the biggest cruise ships you've ever seen just parked across the bay from the Atlantis as well. And he said that one day he was out there doing yoga and one of the party boats came by. So there's all these party boats with like people drinking and screaming and hooting and hollering and like loud music blaring. But the guy who was driving the boat was on the intercom and he says, and right over there is the Shivananda Yoga Ashram. You can't drink, you can't eat meat, and you can't have sex. Now,
And everything went boo.
why in the heck would you pay for that? Uh, anyway, so we had a nice time. We didn't eat meat, we didn't drink, and you know,
That's
but
great.
we had a great time. It was super nice. So we look forward to going back. But anyway, and then we came back and did some kirtans here in the Northwest, and now we're back at it, back doing the Love Everyone podcast with you.
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to take a moment and honor our dear sister Gwendolyn that just
Oh,
passed away. Dear friends of ours in the Bhakti community, of course, Sean Johnson and the Wild Lotus Band. Gwendolyn has been such a big part of the Western Bhakti scene for so many years, and if you haven't heard, just this past week we saw the announcements all over social media that she tragically passed away through some accident. I don't know what that was or how that happened, but it was really, really heartbreaking. So just a moment of honoring what a beautiful, special, wild, and free soul that dear sister is, and If you can hear us now, we just are sending you so much love, and we hope you had a smooth transition to the other side.
Wow, that was such a shock.
Yeah, such a shock to wake up with that in the morning.
Mm. She was such an amazing drummer too. Like I've never seen anybody play that frame drum like the way she could play it.
Yeah, and
Well,
singer.
also sending our love to Sean and the rest of the crew.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And we were just in Italy, and another big one. We had such a wonderful time in Italy, but a dear friend of ours, I don't know if you know Filippo Franchini, but
mm,
he was, of course, David Newman's guitar player, and they traveled the world many times over, and he's got a really bad stage 4 case of cancer happening right now.
wow,
So
did not
that
know.
was
Did not know
really,
that.
really a shocker, and we got to talk to him um, over FaceTime for a while. But he's such a good bro, and we just wish you speedy, speedy healing, and
Mm,
fight through this one, brother. This is a big one. So, but yeah, the only thing we
mm,
know is that we don't know.
wow.
Maharaji says you can plan for 100 years, but you don't know what's going to happen in the next moment. Got to take those words to heart.
Wow. Okay, well, that seems like a perfect transition just to jump into our opening prayers.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So we honor our gurus, we honor those that have walked the path before us, those who have so selflessly passed on this wisdom and these technologies just for the benefit of all, so that we may live a healthy, joyful, spiritually focused, service based, compassionate life. Om Akandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha.
Salutations to the Guru who revealed the supreme truth, which is unfragmented, infinite, timeless divinity and which pervades the entire universe.
Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha.
Salutations to the Guru who opened my eyes, which had been blinded by the darkness of ignorance, by applying the divine ointment of self knowledge.
Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha.
Guru is the creator, sustainer, and the destroyer. Guru is the supreme spirit, both manifest reality and the absolute. My reverential salutations to the glorious Guru who resides in the hearts of all beings as the true self.
Bolo Shisa Gurudev Bhagwan Ki.
Jai,
Shri Baba Neem Karoli Santa Maharaj Ki.
Jai.
All right.
Hmm. All right, so let's introduce another line of the Hanuman Chalisa. If those of you who have been tuning in, you know how much Govindas and I love the Hanuman Chalisa.
And it's
And
Mangalavar.
it
It
is
is Mangalavar.
Mangalavar. Happy Mangalavar. We try to release the new episodes on Mangalavar. Um, and it's even better when we get to record the new episodes on Mangalavar. So Mangalavar is Hanuman Day, a special day to worship our beloved monkey deity. So let's look at, I think we're on Chopai number 5, everybody. And this one translates as, in your hands shine mace and banner. A sacred thread of munja grass adorns your shoulder.
Hmm.
And the Avadi is Hatta Vajra Oradhvaja Biraje Kande Munja Janeu Saje. So, what's this bringing up for you today, Govindas?
Well, on some level, it's bringing up the similar feelings and reflections of last line about darshan.
Hmm.
But I think we'll probably let's take it another way because we spent so much time focusing on darshan in our last episode. In your hands shine mace and banner. And let's talk about the mace that Hanuman is commonly carrying in his hand. And the mace that Hanuman carries in his hand is to destroy the demons in battle. The banner that Hanuman carries is the banner of Sri Ram, that he is a devotee and a servant and walking the path of Ram, Lord Ram. A sacred a sacred thread of munja grass adorns your shoulder. This means that Hanuman has been initiated into this long line of beings in India that have taken initiation into essentially, to put it very simply, putting their spirituality as the most important thing in their life.
Hmm.
So you wear a sacred thread. So let's travel back first, though, to this mace that Hanuman carries and defeating demons. And how can we look at that? Because, just from a Western perspective, this whole thing with demons, what do you mean demons? Like I don't see demons. Demons are something of the past, and the stories of gods and goddesses have so many demons in them where they appear as external demons. And in the story of Ramayana, of course, the demon race is called the Rakshasa race, of which Ravana is the king of. And this is why, of course, Ram incarnated to defeat Ravana, restore Dharma, balance and harmony. So that's one way that we can look at these demons if we read Ramayana and we see that the demons are the negative forces at play
Hmm.
in the world that bring down, that take us away, that are all about fear and and negativity and ego. But we can also look at these external demons more microcosmically within ourselves,
Hmm.
that these are the demons that live within our own self, the greed,
Hmm.
the lust, the attachment, the fear, the doubt. And
Ah.
Hanuman has this mace to destroy these demons.
Hmm.
So, just some introductory thoughts. Anything coming up, and we can just vibe back and forth and see
Yeah,
where this goes.
I've been thinking about this. I don't know if we talked about this before recent, but it's something that's been coming up a lot lately is this idea of Ravana's 10 heads, because, Ravana is like the most egoic creature, and represents so much of this ego. And I was thinking about how challenging the ego is because it is so multifaceted, and I was thinking about, like, a lot of times I feel like, I've got Ravana's 10 heads all. But also, the idea about the 10 heads is that they're not all saying the same thing, right? So you've got the 10 heads, and one is saying you suck, and the other one is saying you're great, and they're saying it at the same time. And then another one is saying, like, you're so ugly, and the other one is saying, like, you're great looking, and there's this battle even between those 10 heads. Our higher self or true self, which is like that, what Ram symbolizes, that 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 part of us, that Atma, that part of that eternal part of us, that knows that all these heads are full of it. Um, it gets drowned out so oftentimes with this constant chatter. But I keep thinking about how many times, like, I'm in a moment and where I feel like my ego's out of control, and I'm literally hearing opposite conflicting statements simultaneously, just like I said, like, you're great, you suck.
Mm.
It's like happening all at the same time. And uh and so, we need Hanuman to come in with his mace, and help us to overcome those. I was also, this line has always been a little confusing for me because of the word. It's almost always translated, pretty much everywhere you go, you hear this translation, in your hands shine mace and banner. But the word Vajra
Mm.
is doesn't mean mace. In fact, the word for mace is gada. And so I was actually looking it up a little bit yesterday, and I found another translation, which I actually now I've misplaced. But it basically was saying that hands like a Vajra.
Mm.
So because Hanuman doesn't even need his mace, in the sense that Hanuman's fist is so powerful. And he uses it many times in Ramayana, where he's not even hitting people with his mace. He's just hitting the demons with his hands.
It's clobbering
He's
them.
just clobbering the demons with his hands. But his hands are like a diamond. Well, that's another meaning. So the Vajra means thunderbolt, and it also means diamond. And the diamond, of course, is the strongest, stone that we know of. Um, and and the lightning bolt too. I mean, the damage that a lightning bolt can inflict. And so this translation was basically saying that Hanuman's hand is like the Vajra, his Vajra-like hand, um, and then and that he carries the banner. So it's a little bit of a different translation, and it made a lot of sense to me. Um, Either way, Hanuman's Vajra like hands or Hanuman's mace, it's clear what it can do. And
And I
go
love
ahead.
this. I love this. Oh, please.
No, no, no. Go on
I
here.
was I was just thinking, like, what I love about this sort of the world of gods and goddesses is that you can't always take it literally so much,
Hmm.
that you have to peel away the layers, and it's not just like, black and white. But when you were talking about that, what was coming up for me is that when we invoke Hanuman, when we live in service, when we live in devotion to God, when we of course do our practices of chanting the Chalisa and repeating the name Ram, when we read Ramayana, when we start to gain this wisdom, that in a sense, this metaphorically, this hand or this mace just clobbers the ego,
Mm,
and our true nature is revealed.
mm,
Like, if you just look at it literally, it can be so like, and some people get very off put by this philosophy. Oh, demons, mace, monkey, but you have to be willing to like go deeper and look at it from a different set of eyes.
mm.
And from there, you start to catch a taste of, I think, what really is being taught through these lines of the Chalisa and Bhakti itself, really.
Yeah, that's great. I think when I first started hearing the stories about the deities, then I would hear somebody tell a story about the same deity, maybe even the same story, and they would tell it differently. And I remember my mind would get really frustrated with that. I'd be thinking, that's not the way it goes, or wait a minute, that's different. So does that mean the other story is wrong? And it was actually Ramesh Menon mentions this in his Ramayana book, because, for example, sometimes people tell the story that Ravana did tapasya to Brahma and then Shiva, and some people tell the story that he did tapasya first to Shiva and then Brahma. And Ramesh Menon kind of mentions this in his story, and he says, but when you hear those stories in a different way, it's for a different kalpa. It has a different intention. So by the subtle changing of the plot of a story in the Puranas and in these stories of the deities, is that there's another lesson to learn. There's another intention of the story. And so we as bhaktas, I think it's really important that we open our minds and hear whatever story is being told to us by whoever's telling us that story, and be open to embracing what is wanting to come through and not being stuck in what we thought we knew last week or last year or last decade or whatever, because that we're not gonna grow that way.
Mm, mm. Yes, I love that. I love that so much. And I think, and through time as well, just from a different perspective, through time, people have told the stories from where they've heard it. And obviously, there's been so many
Mm,
branches in the way that the transmissions have taken place, and the kind of the tree of Dharma, and telling of the stories. And so you open yourself to all of it, right? And we can't be dogmatic, but I understand it can be confusing, and really, if we just look at it one way from our Western perspective, this stuff really just doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's what I think on some levels the beauty is, that it's asking us to stretch our perceptions, to
mm.
look at things from a deeper place, really from the heart. And from there, the stuff can be incredibly, incredibly transformative.
It makes me think of, like, you know, I I, I love Valmiki's Ramayana and I love Tulsidas's Ramayana. Well, they have differences. So what am I gonna do? Am I gonna throw one of them out and
Mm,
not enjoy the other one? Then there's other versions as well that I enjoy as well, and they have so many differences. And it's making me think about one of the things that I always struggled with in Valmiki's version is the last Uttarakhand, which when he sends Sita away again, and he sends her to the forest, and she goes and has children there, and it's the most challenging thing because this is Ram sending away his beloved Sita because of what the people in the kingdom are saying. And it just feels so wrong and it just doesn't make any sense. And I've really struggled with it. And then, you read Tulsidas's version and he doesn't include that part. And many scholars like to sit around and talk about how, well, actually, the Uttarakhand was written much later. It actually wasn't written by Valmiki, and it was written by some patriarchal people who didn't like the fact that Ram had stayed with Sita, and et cetera, et cetera. And so I found myself grabbing onto this idea that no, Ram didn't send Sita away. That's not the story ends happily ever after. They come back to Ayodhya. Ram and Sita live happily ever after together. But just as we're talking about, and this is where I've been now for the last couple of years, and when I tell the story, I don't tell that part of the story. But now, as I'm speaking this, and as we're talking about this right now, I'm thinking that even that new position is I could get stuck in
Mm-hmm.
and totally neglect what potential teachings there might be by at least opening my mind to what does it mean if Ram sent Sita away? What could I learn from having to feel that pain and suffering that Ram felt and that Sita felt by being separated once again after going through what they went through with Ravana? And so I think,
Just as you said that, my heart just felt, oh, so
ah,
much pain. I just,
I know.
just felt this, oh, like how could a human bear that?
Mm.
But I think you said that. That's we as humans, we experience immense, immense pain in this journey of life, of human life. And I love how you said that, that you got to just be open to all of it because it's all possible. And and I think just the lesson for me I'm getting here is just stay
Yeah.
open to everything on every and any level because the teachings are going to come because
Yeah.
God is in everything and everywhere. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And I suppose even in that storyline that you don't want to accept. I mean, how much of our life is a storyline that we don't want to accept? So much.
I could go into politics right now, but we're not going to go there. We've made an agreement.
We have, and we don't need to.
We
We
don't
don't
need
need to because we're not gonna solve anything. That's the other thing is that how many times if you start talking about politics, are you like hoping that somehow like over dinner with your friends in Italy, you're gonna solve the political system of the world? It's just
It's
not.
really interesting though in Italy and here in Portugal and Europe since we've been here, everybody wants to talk about American politics, like
Uh,
thinking they're going to engage me in this. I don't want anything to do with it. Let's talk about bhakti.
You
That
can't get
that feels
away.
much better.
Yeah, it does, and it's really the way. Here's the way I think we need to solve more politics, just more love, more bhakti, more devotion, less separateness. And that's the beauty of the yogic practices, of all of those yogic practices, whatever it is that it's all leading us to more love, and more willingness to see ourselves in other people. And you see the finger pointing, oh, and the name calling and and it's there's no solving any of it, and it's like what Einstein was it Einstein that said that we'll never solve the problem on the level of the problem or something like that. I'm totally butchering the quote, but we'll never solve the problem on the level of the problem. So if the problem is violence, violence is never going to solve violence, I guess is a way to say it.
What's coming up for me right now is somewhere in the pandemic, this great quote came up: less drama and more Rama.
Yeah, that's so true.
But
Le-
when you see God in everything, you can be in that humble state of not knowing, like as you were talking about the differences between, you know, Valmiki versus Tulsi Das and I just had this feeling like, how do I know? I have no idea the way this played out. And how could I even take a stance? Maybe if, I read one and it emotionally triggers something in me, I want to, but I think we just need to see that in all of it,
Mm.
there's teachings for us. And I love how you really brought it to that. Like, I'd like to, oh, please, did you have something else?
Oh, I just was thinking what this our friend Greg and the quote that I think you've already even mentioned today is that, the one thing I know is that I don't know. And this is something that, as a recovering know-it-all, uh, you
You
know,
were one of those too. I was one of those too.
oh my God, I was the guy that makes shit up even if I didn't know it. And I felt that trickling into my, yoga world and and being in teaching situations, and having people ask me questions and feeling that kind of need to know the answer. And I've really been my practice now is to be really honest with myself and to be able to say I don't know. And how do we know? People say, like, did the Ramayana really happen? Who am I to say yes, it really happened? I believe because I like to believe that it did, but do I know?
Mm,
Absolutely not. So it's be silly for me to like stand up on a pedestal and say, yes, Ramayana really happened. And you see people, I mean, you meet people all the time in India, especially that say, this is our actual history. It really happened. Mahabharata, Ramayana, and I think, unless they're like, if I was hearing that from Neem Karoli Baba, I might, think, but for the most part, I haven't met a Neem Karoli Baba in the flesh that I know of, and so they're just people like me saying things that they don't know.
mm.
So I really working on this. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Let's look at the second part of this line though. This
Oh, good. Yeah.
Janeu Sage, this sacred thread, this Brahmin thread that you commonly see boys wearing in India. And this is really cool to me when we look at this, that Hanuman's wearing this and just what this symbolizes.
Hmm.
Any thoughts on this?
Well, one of the things I love so much about Hanuman is that, Hanuman is such a great yogi too. Sure, he's got these fists and these weapons and he's strong and he can protect us and he can, serve Ram and everything, but he's a great yogi on so many different levels. I find this interesting though, because I know there's a lot of people who would say that only a Brahmana is supposed to wear the sacred thread. And here we have a monkey
Mm.
wearing the sacred thread. I mean, how do you even like how do you feel about like when Westerners who are clearly not Brahmanas, or just start wearing the sacred thread and you see it in the ISKCON.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't have any aversion to it because I think of it as that they've been initiated into some order and lineage. Uh, but I just think that it's interesting, like just what it means is the dedication to living it, really being dedicated to it. And I think that's really cool. We don't
Yeah.
have so much of that in our world that we live in. And it's just accepted, it's a part of everyday life in India, even still today.
Hmm. Well, yeah, you see it all the time, you can just subtly see under someone's shirt, maybe,
Yeah.
the thread. Um, so it's three strings, uh, and three is a big number in yoga. Um, the three gunas, the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Even the three, the trident that Shiva
Mm,
has, uh, the three doshas. Um, so
yeah, the three lokas,
three lokas, yeah,
Svarga, Bhumi, Patal.
yeah,
It shows up everywhere.
yeah. Um, I don't know though. Would you? I've never felt drawn to wear the munja grass
Yeah, the thread. No,
thread,
but
sacred
I
thread.
don't know. We're a part of this other tradition.
Yeah, yeah. It's not part of
This
it.
like this Neem Karoli Baba tradition that it's just real there's not a focus on the what could I say the spiritual materialism in a sense,
The sort of
not that
trappings.
that is in its essence, but the showing of it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, look at our guru Krishna Das. He wears a flannel shirt and
yeah,
one set of clothes. It's like we're really being given permission to just be who we are as Westerners, but practice loving everyone
Mhm.
through it all and seeing God in all forms. But there's never been a push from our elders, Ram Das, Krishna Das, like to make it more Indian in a sense, even to
Yeah,
take on any rituals, which me and you, we love India so much. Sometimes I want more of that, but on another level, I can see the real beauty in that as well too.
yeah. I was, I was just thinking about. For some reason, this made me think of because I mean, here I am in my t-shirt, and but then I go to India, and I throw on all the Indian garb, and Indians come up to me and say, "You look more Indian than me," because they're standing there in their jeans and they wear jeans in 100-degree weather. I don't know how they do it, but uh,
That's everywhere. That's everywhere.
I know it's something else. But I was thinking about a picture you and I posted recently,
Oh
and,
yeah.
and there was a comment that was just like,
And we both had T-locks,
"Oh, we
we
had T-locks
and
all
shawls and
all of it, yeah, and
lungies and
the whole 9 yards." I was wearing a turban.
what did somebody say?
Someone said something like, "Be yourself." Dressing Indian isn't yoga or something like that. And you know, I think it's interesting because it's like it's back to what you were talking about, this open mind thing. God, this is really critical piece of this whole thing because whether or not you and I are playing Indian or whatever this guy thinks or not, his attitude of rigidness is not helping him.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? So whenever we like judge somebody for what they're wearing or how they're, whether that's judging somebody who, or a Brahmana saying, "Oh, well, you're not a Brahmana, you shouldn't be wearing the sacred thread," or, um, we're just all we're doing is putting roadblocks up for our own growth, you know? So it's not about whether or not, when I see that situation, I don't find myself going, "Oh, am I just playing Indian? Should I stop wearing these fun clothes that make me feel so happy, you know, because it's somehow cultural appropriation or because it's not me, or whatever." I'm thinking to myself, well, how could I feel so happy and comfortable wearing these if it's not me, you know? And but when I see that comment from somebody in that way, I just immediately think, wow, I don't want to be like that guy, and I find because we all like that occasionally. I find myself slipping into judgment all the time. Do you ever,
Oof. And I
do you
see it.
ever?
I really dissect why I do that. And it's just to boost myself up, to make me feel better than them,
Yeah.
which is what we're going to get into in our LSD hit of the day. It's that
Oh,
there's somewhere in me that doesn't feel good enough, that I need to put somebody else down or judge someone else because I need to feel better about myself.
uh, it's so prevalent, and it's two more of those heads, on Ravana's 10 heads, and one is saying, be yourself, and the other one is saying, you're such a fraud. Oh my gosh.
Let's get into it. You want to get into it right now? I think this is a great
The
time.
hit
So
of the day?
let's take our hit.
Let's take our hit of the day. So, why
Let's
don't you
take
tell
our hit.
everybody, first of all, what we're talking about before they think we're going to start dropping
We're,
acid or
we're a
something?
bunch of acid heads. It's LSD, love, service, and devotion, the original OG LSD. So we are taking our hit each podcast. We call it the LSD hit of the day. And this is the beauty of this LSD is you can take as much as you want and there's no hangover. Actually, you feel better
The
from
more hits you take,
it. The more the better.
the more the better. Don't stop.
And every day, take at least one hit of the day. Not
Yeah, or
every.
just drop them all day long,
Just keep dropping your hits. So
Yeah.
we like to use a quote from some great teacher of ours or master or bhakta or saint or sadhu. And it seems like we keep coming back to Ram Dass, but um,
It's hard not to.
it's hard not to. Gosh, I love Ram
Well,
Dass.
because the thing is too, Ram Dass really speaks to us, Westerners for one, but also, guys like you and me that don't really want to like necessarily play by the rules, who like to have fun, who, like to have a sense of humor, can laugh at ourselves in our situations and all this stuff. And Ram Dass really, I think he really taps into a lot of that stuff.
Gosh, I I just feel like he's alive still, man.
Mm.
It's his spirit. Like even here, just the other day, having conversations with my friends in Portugal, like we're talking about Ram Dass, and he left his body 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and but his spirit just feels like it's still here, and his wisdom is still
Mm.
raining down upon us, and is so accessible. And I think that's really the power of a saint. I think, yes, he had many qualities and shared so much about his unsaintliness that makes him a saint, really.
Mm.
And yeah,
Well,
this
interesting that you say that, and then we will get to our hit. But interesting that you say that because, I never met Ram Dass in his physical body and had several close calls, and it just didn't work out. And I used to really feel upset about that, and feel like somehow I'd been denied something that I deserved, was to be in Ram Dass's presence. And this spring when we were, in March when we were at Ram Dass's house, that all went away. That all dissolved. I felt darshan. I had darshan of Ram Dass, um, during our time there, and uh, and I don't have that feeling anymore.
yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful time together. So let's read this one, and this one is I think so universal. Maybe it's just really geared towards Americans,
Yeah.
people that grew up in America. Um, but
Oh.
his quote is, I'm gonna add, no, this was his direct quote. He says, "Your problem," and I'm not saying this to you, Ramachandra Das. I'm
Well, it
saying,
is. No, no, I think you are. I feel like this
maybe
is.
I should say my problem.
Oh.
But he says, "Your problem is that you're too busy holding on to your unworthiness. One more time. Your problem is that you're too busy holding on to your unworthiness. So let's just have some discussion and reflections about this one, because I think we can open some stuff up here.
Well, this one's like an arrow right to the heart. I
I'm
mean,
like scared right now.
I'm totally petrified because I'm not sure how much I want everybody to know about me and my unworthiness. Uh,
Oh,
and but I do think one of the most powerful aspects of this quote is how, at least in the West, at least amongst my friends and family, like I don't know anybody who doesn't probably feel like this was written for them, you know? Um, I feel like when I do travel, especially like in India and stuff like that, I meet some of the most materially unfortunate people in the world, and they don't seem to have a glimmer of this feeling of unworthiness. At least that's revealed to me. But I think, um, maybe one of the reasons why we're so susceptible to it here is because, we've been told, I mean, our religion, I mean, just the Bible and this idea of original sin. I mean, like we're like told that like we literally are unworthy right from the get-go. And then on top of that, you know, we're told we don't have enough money. We're told we don't, like through advertising and through television, we're not good looking enough. We don't have enough money. We don't have the right job. We don't have the right stuff. We need more stuff. Maybe if you have this stuff, you'll be happy. If you have this stuff, you'll be happy. And so how in the, we just don't have like um, even if you're lucky enough to have parents who look you in the eye and say you are enough, you still faced with so many conflicting messages, you know. Um, and I think when I hear this, every time I hear this quote, I think, ah, how does he know me so well? And why do I hold on to it? Why do we hold on to it, Govindas?
well, a few things as you were speaking were coming up for me. And, one of them was really interesting. I wasn't thinking about why I'm holding on to it so much as the way around it.
Mm,
And the only way around it, I think, is jnana, right? Is spiritual wisdom, is having the understanding that you are a soul, that you are a part and parcel of the supreme divine energy, and that divine energy lives within us as our true self. So when I think about that and I reflect on the question, why am I holding on to it? It's just, it's an old pattern. It's just runoff. It's a tendency that I'm glued to, but I don't even realize I'm glued to it. So spiritual practice, the divine name, japa, repetition, kirtan, spiritual knowledge, readings, Bhagavad Gita, this is the only way that gives us a chance to overcome it
mm,
and actually let go of it and have real self-worth, which has its anchor in knowing that we're non-different from the glory, the treasure, the gold, the fullness of
Mm.
it all. But then I was thinking as well too how that friction of feeling unworthy has stimulated people to do amazing things in their life as well too. It's just a thought.
Mm.
But I personally don't want to hold on to the unworthiness. That's why I want to do spiritual practice, because I have a lifetime of feeling unworthy. Truly, brother, my
Mm.
whole childhood was just I felt worthy of a few things in my life when I was a kid. I felt worthy in playing soccer. That was like one of the things that I really felt worthy of. But later on, as I got older, like dating girls, like I felt so unworthy. Like, why would she really like me if she could really see into me? I don't feel good about myself. I don't love myself.
Mm.
So why would this beautiful human being actually really love me if they knew me? And on and on and on and on, whether it's in marriage, in relationship, in making money, in work, in singing kirtan, in all of these things, this voice still
Mm.
plays itself out. But our shield against that, I really believe, is dharma, is is going deep into that. And I'm thinking right now, maybe I had to go this deep into spiritual practice because that voice was such, and this is going back to what we started with, a demon that
Mm.
brought my spirit down so heavily. And
That's it.
maybe that's why I had to go this deep into spiritual life, to keep that voice at bay, to start to believe that, oh, I actually am worthy of all of these things that I want to do and share and become in my life.
Mm.
What's coming up for you, brother?
Ooh, so much, so much.
We knew this one was going to open
Uh,
it up.
I know. I mean, well, one, when you were talking about like basically what to me is like misidentification. We, the part of us that feels unworthy isn't even really the real part of us,
Mm,
you know, because the real part of us, it, it, it's Satchitananda.
mm,
It's just is, and it's bliss, you know. Um, and Vanamali said, and you've heard this one before many times, the root of all of our suffering is that we don't know who we are. So, so when we think, oh, we say things like, I am unworthy, it's not, it's false. It's a misidentification. And so that's what came up for me when you said that it's gyan, that it's the wisdom is the way out. The wisdom is the way out of that unworthiness. Um, and we just have to like keep reminding ourselves over and over and over and over, because um, it's like, it reminds me of like that thing where like maybe you've experienced something like this, but here's a good example. It's like, do a kirtan, there's 50 people there. Everybody has like the most amazing epic time. One person walks out halfway, and it's that new Indian guy that came to kirtan, and he left early. And the mind can still grab onto that. Oh, that guy didn't like the kirtan. I mean, who knows? He might have had to pick his daughter up, right? And that's the other thing. That guy who leaves, he comes back the next time, and you say to yourself, "Oh, I didn't think he liked it because he left halfway through." And he comes up afterwards and says, "I love your kirtan. I'm sorry I had to leave halfway through." I mean, this is something yoga teachers here, go through this all the time. So on and on and on. But it's such a like easy pattern. You use that word pattern. I think that's um, uh, so so we're constantly being challenged by this. I do think what you said too is interesting, though. This I think my feelings of unworthiness, which I experience no matter how skilled I become at something, I feel like there's always somebody more skilled, and I'm comparing myself to that person and feeling unworthy in relationship. But um, is that it's also part of my dharma, and it's part of all of our dharmas. It's like we've been presented with this for because of our karma, like some reason I was born in America and have to deal with the fighting my way out of feeling unworthy. But that something else Vanamala used to always say is, and Ram Dass actually used to say this, is that your karma is your dharma. And so like the feeling unworthy, as you were saying, is like it's pushed me towards my practices. It's pushed me towards yoga. It's pushed me towards wanting to make kirtan music for people to enjoy, to maybe help them remember who they are so they can maybe not feel unworthy. It's made the more I've examined my unworthiness, it's given me compassion for other people because I understand that other people are experiencing it as well. And a lot of other people don't even have a hack. Like I don't feel, do you feel unworthy in the middle of your kirtan? No, I mean later maybe when you're lying in bed and you're like, oh, I should have done my kirtan like this, or I can't believe I said that stupid thing. But in the moment, right, I'm not feeling it. So some people don't get any respite. Some people don't get any break. And it's given me compassion. It's given me purpose. Part of what I do and why I do it and why I do my practices for myself is because I want to be as present to help other people. I want to feel less unworthy, not just for my own sake, but because I see that if I can find a way out of my own unworthiness, then maybe I could maybe help somebody else find their way out of their unworthiness. So it's all kind of it's as
Perfect,
it's
right?
all perfect.
It's all
That's
perfect.
it, right?
That's what I was feeling. It's perfect. We fight our way out of it, but that's perfect. That's part of the divine perfection.
We say that affirmation all the time, right? We say, you know, God puts me in the perfect place, the perfect situation, and gives me exactly what I need all the time. Well, if we didn't need to feel unworthy, then, God wouldn't be putting us in that situation.
And this is really interesting too, this massive surge towards spirituality in the West
Mm.
may be because have a core component in this where the East has now looked to the West because we've all gravitated so strong to spirituality, where maybe that perfection is because we've all felt so unworthy that we needed this stuff to help us.
Ha.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? But I mean, and I feel this surge on one hand, and then yet I see so much of an opposite surge. So
There's definitely so much at play. But what I was thinking to kind of wrap this up, if you're ready to,
yeah,
is
yeah,
that this unworthiness is one of those, how we started this conversation is one of those 10 heads of the ego that just pops up, and basically says, you suck. You know what?
yeah.
You suck. You are so terrible. You fucking suck.
But like I said, there is that other head saying you're great.
You're
Because
so great. You're the
no, you're so
best.
great. You're the best. Because I literally have felt like a guy with a superiority, inferiority complex my whole life. You people say, do you have an inferiority complex? I'm like, yeah, I do. It goes, it goes nicely with my superiority complex. You
It's
know,
that's the ego, right?
I
That
feel
is,
unworthy, and yet and there's a part of me that's like, but you're better than everybody.
yeah,
Then what's that all about? That's why I can't, it's so, the ego is so multifaceted.
faceted. And what is faceted? I think it's faced,
It's
right?
faced. Totally,
Multi-faced.
yeah,
There's those
multifaceted.
faces, those
10
10
faces.
faces.
It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I just wish that I only had 10.
Uh,
Oh man.
from my perspective, you're doing pretty damn good, brother.
Well, you as well. It's easy to see. It's easy to see from the outside. That's for sure. It's a lot harder to see from the inside. So just keep working. Just keep working on ourselves. And as Ram Dass said, I just is another hit of the day. We're taking 2 hits, everybody. But the best thing you can do for the rest of the world is work on yourself. You know. So we just keep doing the work, and we just keep encouraging you all. Anybody who's still listening, anyone who's still listening is doing the work. I guarantee
You
you.
think there's a, I don't know. Do you think there's anybody still listening?
If you're still listening, make a comment in the
Right now, tell us you're
right
listening.
now. Tell us that you're still listening because I'm starting to feel unworthy just because just because you
Well,
mentioned
I'm
that.
not sure if anybody's listening anymore.
Oh my God,
It's good enough.
is there anyone still listening? If not, then I'm not good enough. Oh man. See, what a trip. What a trip. Oh,
Right. So my computer is about to die. So I'm feeling
let's
like I
wrap it
should.
up, brother. Let's wrap it up. I think it's perfect timing. But guess what, everybody? We love you and you are worthy.
Hmm.
Whatever your heads are telling you, don't listen to them. Listen to us because we know. Oh, right. So let's just finish up with our closing prayers. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu.
May all beings, including ourselves, be happy, be well, and be free from suffering. May all of our thoughts, may all of our words, and may all of our actions in some way contribute to that happiness, that well being, and that freedom from suffering for all, including ourselves, including ourselves, including ourselves.
Love everyone, serve everyone, feed everyone, and remember God.
Sankatamochan Hanuman ki.
Jai.
Shri Baba Neem Karoli Santa Maharaj ki.
Jai.
The Hanuman Chalisa Satsanga ki.
Jai.
Love Everyone Podcast ki.
Jai.
Oh, thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Love you, brother. Have a great day.
Love you too. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Hanuman.